Hello, and thank you for joining our live, interactive telephone town hall with Pennsylvania Labor and Industry Secretary Jerry Oleksiak and UC Benefits Policy Director Susan Dickinson. My name is Dirk, and I'll be today's moderator. The goal of this event is to provide you with helpful information and to answer your questions, as well as update you on Pennsylvania's unemployment benefits programs during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, as I mentioned, this is an interactive forum, and we would love to hear from you. We'll be taking as many questions from participants as we possibly can live during this event. If you have a question, you can press *3 on your phone keypad at any time, and you'll be placed in line to speak with a member of our staff. They'll take down your name and where you're calling from, and if you're a reporter, the media outlet you represent. The next time you hear your name, you will be live on the call and able to ask your question directly. If you're streaming the event on our website, you can simply type your name and question below the streaming player. We will do our best to answer as many questions as we possibly can this afternoon. Again, to ask a question, please press *3 on your telephone keypad. We receive a lot of questions on our live events, so if we're not able to get to your question, please send us an email at uchelp@pa.gov. So let's begin with opening remarks from Secretary Oleksiak.
Thank you, Dirk, and thank you to everyone who has joined us for our fourth town hall. I know we find these very helpful and valuable for us, and I hope that you find them valuable as well. Let me start with just some quick numbers. We are now at 2.8 million initial claims that we have received through our traditional unemployment compensation and through PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, which is the part of the CARES Act that provides benefits for people who are traditionally not eligible for unemployment. And between that and some other aspects of the CARES Act, we have paid out close to $17 billion, about 16.8 or $16.9 billion with a B in total benefits. About half of that through our regular UC system and the rest under the CARES Act. So we have been busy getting benefits out the door, but as I've said in other town halls, while we are proud of the work that we're doing, we are not satisfied because we know that there are still people who are waiting for their benefits, and we want to do what we can as quickly as we can to make sure they get those benefits. One of the issues that many of you have had are related to the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance was filing for missing weeks, the backdating issue. We sent an email to PUA claimants on Wednesday letting them know that the issue is being resolved. We are rolling out the fix in phases, and claimants' ability to file weekly certifications will be restricted until next Wednesday. This means that PUA claimants can only file for missing weeks or regular weekly certifications on specific days, and those days are determined by the last digit of their Social Security number. The email was sent to everyone. It's also available on the instructions are on our website, and it really is important that you follow the instructions closely to get those missing weeks. We know that some people go on the website and they incorrectly click on the backdate filing button. That's not going to do it, but Susan will talk you through it more specifically. One other thing to be aware of is that the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program, that is the extra $600 that all unemployment recipients receive on top of their regular benefits, that will be ending soon. That's a federal program, and the federal government has set the date of July 25th of this year, July 25th, the week ending. The claim for the week ending July 25th, 2020, will be the last $600 payment that claimants receive. If you're still working on payment for any claim weeks from April 4th through July 25th, when that date hits, you will be eligible. You will still receive those payments if you are eligible. And again, Susan will be talking about that in more detail. We know that will impact people in different ways with losing that $600 and with if you are still laid off. So there are other resources that are available through state agencies. Obviously, COBRA is available through your employer, which is a continuation of your health insurance, but that's something that you pay for. There are other programs available through the Pennsylvania Insurance Department and the Department of Human Services that you can access as well. The best place to start looking is the www.pa.gov website, and you'll find links to mental health resources, financial help, mortgage and rent information, food assistance, even driver service updates. So we would encourage you to visit that website, and also the website of DHS, the Department of Human Services, and PID, the Pennsylvania Insurance Department. And one other piece of information in observance of Juneteenth, which is tomorrow, June 19th, the Commonwealth, the governor has ordered that state offices will be closed. So that includes the UC service centers. So you will not be able to access people through the phones, but you will still be able to use the online UC system as you normally would. So again, the offices will be closed, but you will still be able to access the online UC system as you normally would. So with that being said, I will turn this over to Susan for some updates, and then we'll take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So what I want to do is talk a little bit about our PUA program first and give you some updates there. The Secretary had touched on some of the things I'll go into more detail about. First, we will talk about the back weeks that are available for filing. As the Secretary mentioned, this is the issue that many of you have raised with us over the past few weeks, in which we've addressed in these town halls as well as some other forums we've been a part of, where there were weeks in the past as part of your claim which you weren't able to file for, and we weren't able to manually, physically make them available for you to file. So we needed help, and we're working with our vendor to make sure that those got open. So now is the time, and all of you who are on a PUA claim would have received an email from us Tuesday night that explains how it's going to work. So the filing for these weeks is broken out by last digit of your Social Security number, as the Secretary mentioned. And unfortunately, it does affect all PUA claimants, not just the people who are in this boat. So we do appreciate everybody's patience as we make this fix so that your fellow PUA claimants can also receive the payments that they should get. So filing yesterday was limited to those whose Social Security numbers ended with the digits 0 through 3. Today it's 4 to 6, and tomorrow it's digits 7 to 9. And if you try to log in, if you try to file for your weeks on the day that's not yours, you'll simply get a message that you can't file for weeks. So what we are doing is we're taking these 3 days. Hopefully these 3 days will collect most of the people who needed to file for these back weeks. We're giving it a round 2. Only because when these weeks are available for you to file, it's only for 1 day. It's not like our regular UC system. If some of you are familiar with our regular UC system where you have a week to file for your claim, because of this special need in this special situation, it's really only available the day that you are able to file based on your Social Security number. So we figured, some people will probably miss it these 3 days. So we have round 2 happening, and that will be Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday in that same order. So Sunday will be digits 0 through 3. Monday will be digits 4 to 6, and Tuesday will be digits 7 through 9. Again, that's the last digit of your Social Security number. So when you go in, you just log into your dashboard and you file weeks normally. They'll be there for you to be able to claim those back weeks. There isn't anything else you need to do. Don't click on anything special. And as the Secretary mentioned, do not hit the button that says request backdating for my claim. Backdating is not the same as these back weeks. Backdating means that you want the beginning part of your claim, like the date that it's effective, to go backward in time several weeks. That's not what this issue is. This isn't the beginning of your claim. This is weeks that are already part of your claim that you missed filing. So if you hit the backdate button, what that does is it prevents you from doing anything else on your claim, and it sends us a request to approve your backdating. So you then have to wait for a staff member to go through and approve your backdating. So avoid that button. We're actually looking with our vendor to disable the button because many people are getting confused and hitting it. Just follow our instructions in the email and on our website that just say to log in and file for your weeks, and it should work perfectly then, and avoid that backdate button. So hopefully, after these 2 rounds, everyone will finally have their back weeks, and there are, so many other issues we talked about, on these town hall questions people have asked us about PUA. We refine the system as we go along since it was brand new to us. Brand new to everyone. The whole program was brand new to everyone in the nation. As time goes on, we're able to make more improvements, more adjustments, based on the mistakes people are making. That helps us to find ways to improve the system. So, we use all of that knowledge to make it a better experience for you. I'll touch briefly on the PUA fraud situation. And, it continues. And, of course, as time goes on, we have more and more individuals stepping forward to send checks back to us or debit cards and say, hey, I never filed for this benefit. So that's, we thank those people very much for, stepping up and letting us know that this is happening. So the debit cards, because we had started with checks, paper checks to combat fraud, it was fairly simple when someone received a check to return it to us. But now that we're sending debit cards to everyone, some people are getting a little confused as to what to do with the debit card. Of course, if an individual doesn't need the debit card, they can clearly get rid of it. But we do still need to know at the department that a claim was filed in that person's name so that we can stop the claim. Because getting rid of the debit card, doesn't really do anything. It's just going to keep getting payments added to it. So, in that case, we're going to be updating our messaging on our website so that if individuals, do receive a debit card from us and they never filed for unemployment, they will know what to do. And of course, we are still sending a paper letter to everyone who has filed for a PUA claim to explain to them that a PUA claim was filed in your name, and if you did not file for this benefit, here's what you do. So that continues. And when it comes to having individuals on PUA receive debit cards, Treasury is still flipping people over from, who previously were getting checks now onto debit cards. So that because there's a high volume of individuals, that started last week and it continues. I'm not sure if it's quite done yet, but individuals will be receiving those cards from Bank of America. And then, at that point, the hard part's over, just receiving the card and activating it. So at that point, as you continue to file your weekly claims, that the money will go straight onto the debit card. So that's all for PUA. Moving on to the FPUC benefit, that's the $600 that is on top of your regular unemployment payments. Just a reminder that is ending the week of July 25th. That is the last week for which it is payable. So the payment is tied to that week. That doesn't mean that if you file for your claims July 26th, you don't get it. That's not true. It's tied to the payment that you get for the week July 26th. So even if you went through a whole appeal process and we didn't even make the payment till December, you're still getting your $600 for the week of July 25th. So after that, the $600 won't be available anymore for weeks that are payable after that point. So we are setting out to remind everyone of that, putting some messaging up on our website and making sure everyone realizes that they won't receive the $600 for any weeks that are after the week ending July 25th. So speaking of benefits starting and stopping, we are starting the extended benefits program. We have triggered onto the extended benefits program back in May, and so the extended benefits program will be starting the week ending July 4th. So what this is an extension of regular unemployment benefits. It's in our law all the time, but you normally don't hear about it or see it because the unemployment rate has to be very high for this program to trigger on. We did have it 10 years ago during the Great Recession. It triggered on in 2009. And prior to that, the last time was 1983. So that gives you a sense of how often, or rather I should say, how not often this program actually triggers on. So in any case, we are gathering all the information to share publicly so that individuals will know what to do. When it comes to setting up extended benefits claims, there's really no application that people will have to file. It's just going to set up automatically after the money runs out on your PEUC claim. The extended benefits claim sets up about 2 days later. And then, of course, you'll receive a financial determination. The extended benefits program is not like PEUC in that everybody gets it. The majority of people will qualify, but there is an additional wage test called the 1.5 times wage test that's in the law. You have to have 1.5 times of your high quarter in your other quarters of your base year. So this is something that was actually set for you back when you filed your initial UC claim and you received your financial determination. At that time, of course, we didn't need to do the calculation, but now that you'll be going on to extended benefits, the system will look to see if you have met the 1.5 times wage test. You'll receive an eligible financial determination if you have, or you'll receive an ineligible financial determination if you haven't. Based on my experience 10 years ago, very few people don't meet the test. It's not going to be a rampant thing that a lot of people are denied. But, of course, it is possible for people to be denied, so I just want to make sure everyone is aware of that. The length of extended benefits can be anywhere from 9 weeks to 13 weeks. Again, this is unlike PEUC. It was 13 weeks for everyone. But when it comes to extended benefits, it's based on being half of the weeks that were available to you on regular UC. So regular UC can be anywhere from 18 weeks to 26 weeks. So that means extended benefits are going to be anywhere from 9 weeks to 13 weeks. So it'll depend on how many regular UC weeks you received, or rather you were eligible for to begin with. So we will be, soon getting all that information out, doing a press release, having, stuff out on our website, contacting individuals. So you will be able to find more information on this program very soon. And one last thing I wanted to mention, as we go through this, through the pandemic, and fortunately we're coming out of it a little bit. People are going back to work, which is great. Some people are still possibly filing partial benefits, even if they're not back to work full time yet. And so we do still have individuals usually on this call every week, but even on other calls who are asking us, I haven't heard anything. What's happened? I filed back in March. What's going on? So we're still getting through all of the issues that are on claim. One of the things that I learned this week in looking, having staff look at various claims, we do have individuals who have reopened claims and are wondering where their payments are. They've reopened, they've been filing, everything seems okay, but they haven't received anything. If you reopened a claim and you had previously been denied, keep in mind that the department only knows that you're still denied. So unless you've purged that denial, then you won't be able to receive any benefits. And what I mean by that, if you opened a claim within the last year and you were denied, let's say, you were fired and there wasn't good cause and we sent you a denial and the denial stood, you appealed it and didn't win, or maybe you just didn't appeal it. If you're denied in that respect, then you have to work and earn 6 times your weekly benefit amount before you can be eligible for benefits again. So if you haven't haven't done that, you wouldn't be eligible for regular UC benefits. You may be eligible for PUA benefits if you have not purged your UC denial. Of course, in order to be eligible for PUA benefits, you have to be unemployed for a COVID-related reason. It's not simply just a lack of work, but it's you don't have work because of a direct COVID-related reason, such as restrictions placed upon you, et cetera. So if you did purge your denial and you have worked and earned 6 times your weekly benefit amount, there's no way for the department to necessarily know that unless you contact us. So if you look back at your denial, there are instructions on all of those denials to explain what to do when you purge that denial. So just keep that in mind. If anyone's listening who had been denied and they reopened your claim, and you think you should be getting benefits, you actually may not be getting benefits, and we may be canceling your biweekly claims every 2 weeks because we are not aware if you are eligible at this time. So the instructions pretty much say to contact us, and of course we'll need proof that you did, pay stubs or something like that you did, purge your denial. Depending on when it was, sometimes we can see on our wage records that you did purge the denial based on the date. So we know if we denied you 9 months ago and 2 quarters ago you had a certain number of dollars on your wage record, we can easily see that you've done it. But especially if the work that you did to purge the denial was very recent, just within the past couple of months, we may not have record of that. So you're going to need to draw our attention to it and prove to us that you did purge your denial, in which case we can then go in and make those back payments that you've been filing for. So that was the lesson of the week, the one that we're seeing more of, and individuals just aren't aware. If you were previously denied, you need to contact us and tell us if you've purged that. Okay, so with that, those are all the announcements, and we can get to the questions.
Okay, very good. We'll start with a question from Mary, who's on the line with us right now. Go ahead with your question, Mary.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I have it seems awfully complicated. I'm both a gig worker with 1099 gigs and a part-time employee. I lost all of my 1099 gigs because of the pandemic, and all of the places that I worked on 1099 gigs were closed because of it. So when I tried to file for PUA, the website said, oh, no, you're not eligible for that. You're eligible for UC, so we're going to put you through for that. And then it said, yes, you're eligible for $195 a week and nothing more. But every week when I do my weekly thing and add in the money from my part-time W-2 job, it says you made too much money, you're not getting anything. And I've been calling since March 11th, and I've been emailing since March 11th. And I've gotten nothing but busy signals on both the UC lines and the PUA lines. Also, I moved from New York State to Pennsylvania in August. So the 1099 and all the tax stuff that I put on for last year, half of it was New York, half of it was for Pennsylvania. I can't get anybody to talk to me about this. I don't know how to proceed from here, but I haven't gotten anything since March 11th, except for what I'm making on my part-time job, which, according to the website, is too much for unemployment.
Hey, Mary,
so I don't know what to...
Sure. So the way that actually it works on both programs, so when it comes to reporting earnings on regular UC or on PUA, it's the same thresholds. So when you receive your original financial determination, there's a couple different numbers on there. And one of them is the weekly benefit amount, and that just shows you, if nothing else, and if you're fully unemployed, this is the weekly amount that you'll receive in benefits. In addition to the weekly benefit amount, there's also a partial benefit credit, and that is 30% of what the weekly benefit amount is. And then there's a third number which actually adds those two together, and that's called the combination rate. So when you're working, the amount that you report in earnings each week is subtracted from the combination rate to give you the amount of benefits that you could possibly be paid that week. So if the amount of money that you're making exceeds your combination rate, then you wouldn't be eligible for a benefit for the week, which sounds like that might be the situation. Now, when it comes to eligibility on various programs, if someone can qualify for regular UC as opposed to PUA, they have to take the regular UC. Individuals don't get a choice. So, and the state doesn't get a choice. This is all federally mandated. So you have to take the regular UC claim. And when it comes to regular UC claims, in order to establish those amounts, like your weekly benefit amount, your partial benefit credit, we can only use wages that were covered in terms of Pennsylvania state law. So any type of self-employment wages aren't considered covered wages to establish a claim. So we can only use your regular, like the part-time benefit that you're talking about, or I'm sorry, the part-time work that you're talking about. We can only use those wages to establish the claim. And that's where your weekly benefit rate and your partial benefit credit are all based on. So, in this case, it sounds like you truly might just be exceeding, your weekly benefit amount is on the low side just because it's using only your part-time employment to establish the rate. And then, of course, your part-time employment is then, it's too much each week and it is exceeding the benefit. So, in this case, you're not considered unemployed, even though you have lost the gig work. That's more like a side business at this point. And, when it comes to looking at individuals, because you're not the only one, there's a lot of people who, have self-employment, but they also have traditional employment. It is possible if your self-employment was much, substantially more, before you filed for unemployment, substantially more than your regular employment. An examiner of ours might look at that and see that you are primarily self-employed. However, if it was about half and half, then you likely are still, theoretically eligible for UC, but as opposed to PUA. But you just don't qualify monetarily because, your excessive earnings each week. And one last piece regarding the New York and Pennsylvania, when it comes to your self-employment, if you were filing for a PUA claim, we look at the base year as 2019, that, if you were filing, doesn't matter when you file a PUA claim, 2019 is the set base year for that program. So if you've worked in Pennsylvania and in New York during your base year, then you would be able to file in one of those states or the other. Of course, you can't file in both. But it all depends on where you performed the work. Whenever regular UC individuals work in multiple states during their base year, they can choose which one of those states they want to file a claim. So PUA is the same. It depends on where you worked, and then you can make a decision from there as to where you want to file.
All right, moving on. We've got a caller, Allison, on the line with us now. Allison, go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, thank you guys so much for taking my call. I actually have somewhat of a similar question to the previous, but a little different. So you may have answered part of it in just that description right there. But I qualified through PUA because I was scheduled to start new employment, which was rescinded based on COVID-19. I moved from New York to Pennsylvania, so my previous employment was in New York, but my new job that I was scheduled to begin is in Pennsylvania. Knowing that PUA is federally funded and that my new position was going to be in Pennsylvania, I applied through Pennsylvania. I got a monetary determination of the minimum weekly amount, which is $195. However, when I was doing the application, there wasn't an opportunity to upload my wages anywhere. So as soon as I received that wage determination, I quickly submitted an appeal and I uploaded all of my wages. And I've been waiting for about a month and a half to hear back on that appeal. Now, based on what you just said, it sounds like I should have just applied in New York the entire time because I've actually never had any wages earned in Pennsylvania, even though my job was scheduled to be here and I live here now. That being said, I have now been approved in New York for the full amount. So if I am understanding correctly based on the last answer, which is that I should have been collecting from New York the entire time, even though PUA is federally funded, can I pay back all of my Pennsylvania benefits received in order to start collecting from New York?
Yeah.
And how do I do that?
And actually, yep, you figured it all out. That is correct.
Okay, great.
And so, yep, you're all set in New York. And then here, if you receive benefits from us, you can just pay those back, and then you're free and clear.
All righty. So we're going to move on next to a couple of questions that have been submitted online. So here's one from Brenda. How do you answer new PUA question if you're an independent contractor with reduced hours due to COVID-19?
Good question. So the new question that started showing up in the weekly claims. I'm so used to regular UC. The weekly claims certification is all of the reasons in the CARES Act, why an individual might be able to qualify for PUA. From what I'm understanding, once that was put in there, it didn't quite match the initial reasons. So we're working on making that change to make sure that the reason when you first open the claim that list is the same as when you are continuing. And there is one in there that we're adding that specifically speaks to the self-employed and gig workers. Of course, that's not in there yet, as you're noticing. So, just pick the best response for now. And then once we get the new selection in there, you'll be able to select that on an ongoing basis. And this was a question that was supposed to be in there from the beginning. The federal government sent us this direction to have this in there for weekly filing, like on the eve, practically. It was a few days earlier, but but almost on the eve of when we launched our system. So here, it was all set and ready to go, and then they're like, oh, you have to do this other thing. So we put in a change ticket with our vendor right away, and they've been working on it since, and we've been testing it and had to go back and forth a few times. So it finally did get in. It's just unfortunate that it took this long, and then it kind of took everyone by surprise, thinking it was something, new, and it's really not intended to be new. It's intended to just be the same thing that you answered when you open your claim, and then you're just certifying to that every week. And I will add that it doesn't necessarily, we're not looking to see that the reason that you initially opened your claim is the same reason every week. That's irrelevant. The point of it, I think, from the federal government standpoint, is just to remind individuals that their unemployment must be COVID-related as they go on through this claim. So if at any point your unemployment is no longer COVID-related, say it's just a lack of work, there's not enough work coming in, but it's not really related to the pandemic anymore, at that point you're supposed to stop filing claims because you're not eligible anymore. So I'm guessing that was just like their thought behind it. So of course, it caused a lot of confusion when we finally got that in there. So we are working on adjusting the reasons in there. So for now, choose the one that, if you are still COVID related, unemployed, choose the one that best fits your situation. And you can move forward until we get that other one in there.
All right. Another question from online. This one's from Brian, who asks, when can PUA recipients expect to receive debit cards? He doesn't know how he'll be paid this week.
Hi, Brian. So the debit card should be there any day now. I don't know the exact progress. The mailings started last week. It's actually a request that goes from Pennsylvania Treasury to the debit card company. So those started last week, and individuals probably started receiving them this week. So as they send those lists over in chunks because of our high volumes, you should be receiving it soon. So you'll continue getting checks until that debit card switch over. So if your name hasn't been on one of those lists that are sent over already, you'll simply just keep receiving a check. And then once it cuts over, you'll receive the card.
Perfect. Let's see here. Going back to a phone question, we've got Jamie joining us now live on the call. Jamie, go ahead with your question, please.
Hi. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I wanted to know, I'm currently serving penalty weeks with UC, and wanted to know, I've been hearing that people who have penalty weeks can be eligible for PUA.
Hi, Jamie. That is correct. The reason you may not find anything about it on our website yet or anything is because we're still trying to put together the final procedures of how it's going to work. I know it makes me nervous because it's complicated. And I feel so bad for, everyone who has to deal with complicated unemployment. It's complicated to begin with. And now we have this new situation. We've never had a situation where we've had to pay individuals benefits on one program while they're actually being penalized on a different program. It's just a very strange situation. So what we think we're going to have to do is have individuals in that situation file on both claims, which is probably going to be confusing to them. So we want to make sure that we put the information out there as clear as we possibly can. What we're going to do is we're going to have our IT folks collect for us all of the email addresses and mailing address if there is no email for individuals, anyone who's served a penalty week back through since March 15th, 14th, around there. And then we're going to proactively reach out to all of them and explain what they need to do. Of course, there will be some people who probably already finished their penalty weeks during this time, in which case they can just get retroactive payments. And everyone else may be currently serving penalty weeks. So we're trying to put controls in place to make sure that they don't get too many PUA benefits. If they continue collecting on PUA, the very last week that they serve a penalty week on regular UC should be their last week of PUA, and then we need to make sure that they get right over to the unemployment claim. Otherwise, they're going to be overpaid on PUA. It's just very complicated. So we are going to be sharing something soon. We just want to make sure that we get the information out there. It is going to be a little confusing, I think, but hopefully, together we can all figure it out and make sure individuals are in the right place.
Moving on, we've got Joseph joining us. Joseph, go ahead. You're live on the call. What is your question?
Yes, my question is about the backdating. 3 weeks ago, I hit that request button 3 weeks ago, and of course, it wouldn't let me file the weekly. Now your opening statement saying that I would have to get in touch with a live operator to get my back weeks reapplied or backdated, or did I try to sign in yesterday on my Social Security number? The first day was Wednesday, and it still came up and wouldn't let me do it. That's what I'm trying to say. So if I heard you right, I have to call this number again, the 822 number or whatever it is. Thank you.
Hi, Joseph. So actually, no, you don't necessarily need to get in touch with us. What it is you're just in a queue waiting for a staff member to go in and approve the backdating that you submitted. So it's just a volume issue because everyone who was in this situation where they couldn't file for back weeks thought that hitting that button was going to help them. They all did. And so now there's a lot of backdate requests, which aren't true backdating requests. As I mentioned earlier, backdating just means that you want the effective date of your claim to be earlier. It doesn't have anything to do with your continuing weeks. So we are, trying to go through that list quickly and trying to get everyone approved. It takes a long time just because there's so many requests that came in. Once those are approved, then your weeks, will be able to be opened up to file. So we're just, trying to get to that point, and also trying to deactivate that button for now. If anyone needs to truly have backdating, they're going to have to email us until we can somehow figure out how to better present that button.
Ron online wonders, when will PUA get the live chat feature?
That is a good question as well. So we are currently, a lot of our PUA staff are individuals who aren't part of our traditional regular unemployment staff. We have a lot of individuals, the ones, answering our telephones are from the Department of Revenue. We also have individuals being trained to answer it from FIA, the Higher Education Assistance Agency, and they're the ones who are basically on the phones. And then behind the scenes, we actually have not some of our UC benefits people, but it's our unemployment tax staff who are answering your emails and taking care of your claims that way. And so as we're doing that, the regular unemployment staff have been taking care of regular claims and PEUC claims. And so we're slowly going to start training them to move over and be able to handle the PUA claims as well. And those are the staff who are used to chat, and we right now, we have to make sure that if people are taking chat, that they can answer the questions that come to them. So right now, if you tried to chat with someone and ask them a PUA question, they're not going to know because that's the traditional unemployment staff. So we're working on ways to get other individuals trained and get them the right accesses to the correct systems, because they also don't have access to the PUA system right now. And we're hoping to then be able to offer, some information via chat for PUA in the future. It's just a resource thing, and trying to make sure our resources are balanced between the two systems and make sure that everyone is well trained so that if you do go to the trouble of getting a hold of them, then, you're able to, get the right answers and be able to thoroughly get what you're looking for.
Thank you very much. Staying online, Lance indicates he filed an appeal on 5/6 with a follow-up email on 5/27 and still has not received a response. He asks, how far behind are you with appeals?
Lance, so it depends on what kind of appeal. So there's monetary appeals, and there are appeals for all other non-monetary type issues, like if we sent you a denial saying you weren't able to work or that you quit your job or something like that. So when it comes to the monetary appeals, right now that is our highest volume of appeals, are individuals looking to get their monetary either fixed or maybe they're denied and they want to make sure they're not denied. So that one it's not a true appeal that's going to go to an appeals referee. It's just an appeal that goes to our service center staff, or if it's a PUA claim, it goes to our behind-the-scenes PUA staff to adjust your monetary information based on whatever evidence you provided to us. So, or if you didn't provide evidence yet, we'll have to reach out and get evidence of pay stubs, anything that's going to help us resolve the monetary issue. So that is the more popular type of appeal right now. If it's an appeal for some other reason, and this type of appeal would go to an appeals referee, they're actually in pretty good shape. They don't have a lot of appeals. Their appeals are primarily, normally before the pandemic, are all about, separations, for example. Someone quit and was denied, or someone was fired and was denied, or the, employer appeals, something like that. So there weren't a lot of those at the beginning of the pandemic simply because everyone was a true layoff. So there weren't any disputes as to, why someone wasn't employed anymore. It was very across the board, a lot of layoffs. So for those type of appeals, it should be a fairly quick turnaround. And, you would then be hearing an appeal date, and they're all pretty much being done by phone right now. The UC Board of Review would send you an appeal date and time for you to call in and attend your hearing.
Next up, we've got Jose joining us. Jose, thank you for your
Yeah.
time, and what is your question?
Thank you very much. Thank you for answering those. My question is because somebody already asked a similar question. First of all, I'm an independent contractor, and with those new questions, obviously I don't have a best option. Most of them have to do with if either I was sick or somebody in my family was sick, or I'm taking care of somebody who's sick, or my business is closed. My business is not closed; it's partially closed. I am working, and part-time though, so not to my full extent. Well, I got two questions based on that. First of all, I would not want to choose the best answer because honestly, there's no best answer, and I would not want that to flag anything in a further down the road situation. So I was wondering what I could do with that. If I could wait maybe till next week and then just file both weeks to see if they had already put in the new question with the Section K of the CARES Act. And my second question is, if I do go over 1 week because I had more work that week, and the next week I don't have the same amount and I'm lower than my weekly, can I still apply for the PUA benefits?
Hi, Jose. So to your first question about filing the weekly claims and answering the question, I would not recommend waiting. You really should file timely. If you don't file timely, then you're going to have to get a hold of us, and we're going to have to take your information via phone, as opposed to you just being able to do it online. So you want to make sure that you are timely. Supposedly, and when we first started this system, there is supposed to be a grace week. If you miss your week of filing, you're supposed to be able to do it the following week. I've heard some reports that it's not necessarily working. So I definitely wouldn't want to be late with filing your week, because then it may not work. I understand what you're saying about there's no best answer. But again, I mean, this is a department issue where we don't have the right thing out there. So clearly we're not going to punish someone, for picking the wrong one. There really is no wrong one, because you need to be able to proceed with your claims. We're more, concerned with making sure that you have your claims in timely. So that would be my advice to you there. And for the second part, which I already forget. Sorry, I off the top of my head can't remember what the other question was.
I'll see if we can get back to him. I've already currently got the next caller ready, but we'll try and get back to a second question here, if it's all right with you.
Pops into my head at any time, I'll speak up.
Okay, moving along. We've got Jamie joining us. Jamie, go ahead. What is your question?
Hi, my question is, I was hurt at work, and I went over with workman's comp, and my workman's comp was denied. My doctor put me off work, but it was due to no fault of mine. Doctor told me to file for unemployment, which I did do, and I got a determination letter, actually two in the same day. One said that I was eligible under 402B, and the other one said I was ineligible under 401D1, which is I'm not available to work and I'm on a leave of absence due to health reasons. So with the eligibility benefits being under Section 402B eligible, will I receive my unemployment under that, or do I need to file an appeal, or how does that work?
So Jamie, the two sections of law are actually different in the way that they are denials. So the 402B is where it's a voluntary quit. So that means that you're eligible under that section. So that means you had good cause to quit. The department agrees and you're fine there. The other one is, as you mentioned, not able to work. And so that one, and again, based on the fact that you were saying, you were filing for workers' comp, if there's some sort of physical reason you cannot work, then you're not eligible for unemployment compensation. So you wouldn't get any benefits for any weeks in which you're not able to work. Now, the good news about the 401D1 is that it is a week-to-week type of test. which means you're not denied for the whole claim necessarily. That's if you were denied under the other section of law, that would be denial for the whole claim unless you worked and earned 6 times and purged it. So the week-to-week test just means that if you were to heal and at some point you're healed and you can work again and you're unemployed, then you can contact us and explain that you are able and available to work now. We may need some sort of evidence from you, but if you are otherwise eligible, then that would be when you could have benefits again. So, unemployment is an insurance program, and so the people covered by the insurance are people who are able and available to work, so that is why the denial stands. And I do remember what Jose was asking me, so I'm just going to I'm going to quickly jump in here with it. He was asking about reporting his earnings and if he did wait for another week, if he should move some into different weeks. So when it comes to earnings, you'll always report them when they were earned. So it doesn't matter, when. Of course, we want everyone to file their weekly claims timely. But let's say for some reason you didn't and you contacted us a couple weeks later and you needed to file for, let's say, 4 back weeks. Your earnings within each week are always going to be the same. It's going to be when you earned them. So when you report it, now in his case, he was self-employed, so he's going to report net earnings. Anyone who's a traditional employee, if you have earnings from traditional employment, you report gross earnings. But the exception are the self-employed individuals, the gig workers, those individuals. Any earnings from self-employment are net earnings, but you still, no matter, which situation you're in, you still report them when earned. And I realize that was kind of a hard concept. A lot of the self-employed individuals don't really kind of work that way. It's based on sales and not when you do a lot of you don't consider yourself as, being paid for the stuff that you might do behind the scenes. But that's what you kind of have to come up with is, if you did a whole bunch of prep work for something, how much is that worth to you? You have to kind of assign based on the sale you make, how much was that work worth, and assign earnings per week to the work that you're doing. And again, make sure if you're self-employed that it's your net earnings. So I hope that helps Jose's question. Sorry, I couldn't remember it right away. That's, I do one thing at a time.
Well, thank you very much, Susan. We've got another question online from a caller. Then we'll go to another one online. We've got William on the line with us right now. And William, what is your question?
Yeah, hello. I am collecting regular unemployment compensation right now. My benefit year ends this upcoming August 1st. I only have $34 of benefits left in my unemployment compensation account. So I will file my next biweekly claim this upcoming Sunday. When I file for my first week ending Saturday, June 13th, the benefit money in my account for that first week will completely exhaust it. So I have 2 questions. First question, will I only get paid the $34 left in my account for the first week, plus the $600 FPUC, or will I get some PEUC in addition to the $34 regular unemployment comp? Second question, will I actually file for this second week when I file for the first week, when I file my biweekly coming up Sunday? Will I file for both the first week, which will exhaust my money, and also the second week? And if I don't file, when will I actually file for that second week? Will it be this upcoming Sunday? Well, I think it might be the Sunday after that.
Hi, William. So that's actually a great question. It gets, and I realize it gets, confusing toward the end of a claim. Do you continue on your biweekly filing cycle and just keep on going? And the answer is yes, but it sounds like in your specific situation, you're going to exhaust your claim with 1 week instead of 2 weeks. So your regular UC claim is exhausted with 1 payment instead of 2 payments. In that case, you will probably have to file the next coming Sunday. So instead of waiting 2 weeks, you're just going to wait 1 week and you're going to go in and file. So what happens is when your regular UC claim runs out of money, 2 days later, automatically, a PEUC claim pops up and is then available for you to start filing after, for most people, it's after 2 weeks. But in your case, the 2 weeks are going to be a little early because an odd number of weeks was your last unemployment payment. So it is confusing. And what I usually tell people is, really, if you're unsure, just try logging in every Sunday and seeing if there are any weeks available for you to file. That ensures that you don't miss any. So if you're simply out of money on your account or on your claim, but your benefit year is still active, that PEUC amount is just going to show up. Now, I believe you had said, if I understood you correctly, that your regular UC benefit year ends August 1st, in which case you might still be able to proceed on your PEUC claim, but at the time that your regular claim ends, what the department does is test you to see if you can qualify for a new unemployment claim. Unemployment claims are good for a year, and individuals can't open a new unemployment claim if they already have an open unemployment claim. So at the time your claim expires, we test you for a new one. If you qualify for a new one, you'll use the new one. If you don't qualify for a new one, we'll continue you on your PEUC claim. And then eventually, if you're still unemployed at the time that extended benefits comes into play, then you'll proceed onto an extended benefits claim as well.
All right, as I mentioned, we've got time for just one more question, and it's going to come from online. Terry writes, I sent an email on 5/21, and they said 46 days to be answered. Is that still on target? I reopened my claim twice, and when I file my biweekly claim weeks, were skipped.
So Barry, it's actually, I think technically our website has a longer amount of days now. I did not check it this week, but it was in the 49 range or 50 range or something when I last looked. That's actually the worst case scenario. We purposely put worst case out there so that, for the most part, people will hear from us sooner than that. We look at what's the absolute oldest email in our account, and that's the one that we say, it'll take this many days. So we did change the language around that a couple weeks ago just to say something like along the lines of oldest email or something like that. It's not an average. The average is slightly less than that. So when it comes to weeks being made available, it sounds like that's what your email to the department was about. And we have been having some technical issues with that our IT staff are looking into. So it is possible that in your situation, depending on the situation, if you fall into that group, you may have weeks available at some point. I would log in once in a while and just see there are a lot of out of sequence weeks happening. I have had, individuals, I've seen individual claims where for some reason that's happening and we haven't quite sorted it out yet. So we are getting there, and, we're going to make sure at least you did send an email, so that's your place in line. So that's good. When we get there, we will be able to make sure that you did receive your benefits for those out of sequence weeks. That's something that we are hoping to fix soon. It is confusing a lot of people, and we don't want anyone to feel like they're missing out on any benefits.
So everyone, we are coming to the end of our live event. I want to thank you again for participating in today's L&I Town Hall. We appreciate the opportunity to speak directly with you and answer your questions. Now we'll go ahead and start with closing comments from Secretary Oleksiak.
Thank you, Derek, and thank you to everyone who joined us today. We hope you found this useful and got some questions answered, and we hope to talk to you again next week. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jerry and Susan. For the Pennsylvania Labor and Industry Updates, please visit www.uc.pa.gov. And once again, if we were unable to address your questions live, please send an email to uchelp at pa.gov. Again, a hearty thank you to everyone for taking the time to participate in this call. We hope you stay healthy and safe and have a wonderful day.